Hi everybody, I have a really special video for you today. I am finally going to be introducing you to my dad. As I've mentioned many times on here, he is my source of inspiration, my motivation. He is the one that taught me how to be self-motivated and ambitious, and we're going to be working on some projects together. So I really wanted to introduce you to him and to just sit down and talk with him, and maybe you guys can get some of that motivation and inspiration, especially right now, from him. So I really hope you enjoy this little chat that we had. Thank you. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Kate.
How are you?
Doing great. Good to see you. And I always love talking to you.
Oh, I love talking to you too. So I wanted to, first of all, introduce you to everybody. Everybody, this is my dad, Rick Morgan, Dr.
Hello,
Rick.
everybody.
You,
Happy to be here.
you've heard me talk about him many, many times about how, a lot of you asked me like, where do you get your motivation from? How do you learn how to be, so I don't even know what the word is, but motivated and ambitious. I learned it from him. So I wanted to bring Dad on because not only did I want him to talk to you about being a dad of a dancer, because goodness knows there are many of you out there, but he and I are working on some projects. So I want to talk about those too. So Dad, first of all, tell everybody what it's like to be, what it was like being a dad of a dancer with me in particular.
Oh, that's easy. I could talk probably for days just about being a dad of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what my hope is to get out there to some of the dads and just talk about being a dad of a dancer. But for you, it's been different because of your talent.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about what we talk about and chat about, a big part of it was how you developed over your lifetime from even an infant dancer, quote, if that's even a thing, to where you are now.
Yeah.
Been a huge, huge transition and wonderful to watch from when we got you as a baby
Mm-hmm.
until now. So I'm so proud of you. So being the dad of a dancer, though, is a little bit of a challenge. It's a different kind of challenge. A lot of dads deal with challenges, whether you're a sports dad, where you go to baseball games with your kid every Saturday, or a dancer's dad. It's been nothing but fabulous, to
Oh,
answer your
thank you.
question with a limited answer, because the progression I've seen in you has been unbelievable. But I must say, it's been more unbelievable the way your heart has not ever changed.
Thanks.
So I know you're amazing. I know you're amazingly talented, but you've got the sweet heart and such a great foundation that I couldn't be more proud of you as
Thanks,
a dancer's
Dad.
dad.
Thanks, Dad. But I learned a lot of that from you because I remember one of the things I told people is when I did get sick, and we're going to jump around a little bit because I wanted to keep this, just a chat between us
Sure,
and
sure.
everybody can watch. When I did get sick and I came home, you let me wallow on the couch for like a month. And then you're like, all right, you're done. Like, what's next? You got to have a plan B. And so I really attribute a lot of the success I've had now since City Ballet, well, and even at City Ballet, but to you, because you did not let me feel sorry for myself. I remember like being up in our guest bedroom, like putting the paper on the wall and like
Mm-hmm,
writing out
mm-hmm,
goals and like,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, what's next? You might not be on stage anymore, but what's next? And so talk a little bit about where you got that motivated. Like how did
Yeah,
you get like that? Because I don't know if everybody knows you are a graduate of the Naval Academy, in top of your
yeah.
class. I mean, it's just like, so talk about that.
Okay, I can do that. It's amazing you remember that paper thing, because I had forgotten all about that. That's going to have to go in my next book about you. But anyway,
Yeah.
um,
Which Dad is writing a book, by the way, so that's what we're going to get to in a minute. But
yes, but probably I'll have to go back to my family and my growing up. Just a brief background. I was one of 7 kids.
mm-hmm.
My dad was military, so we didn't move around a lot. But all 7 kids were born in Minnesota, where my dad was stationed. And then we ended up, after he retired, moving to Alabama, a little small town where my dad was from in Alabama. A major change for a 9th grade boy, but got in there, had some troubles with the language, so to speak, from a northerner to a southerner. But it all worked out great. And I had a really great high school in a small town in Luverne, Alabama. The interesting thing about that is when I graduated, there were 12 kids in my class. So I
Oh,
came
wow.
from a very tiny class of kids in this little town of like 1,100 people.
Mm-hmm.
But the amazing thing was, I don't know why, maybe my dad, maybe my family gave me that motivation, but I always tried to do well, played sports, and did well in high school. And because of that, of course, I got an appointment to the Naval Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left, first time I ever flew in my life was when I flew out of Alabama to go to Annapolis to start the Naval Academy. And I
Welcome
had
to.
yeah, I had to do it by myself. My parents had no money, so they couldn't fly with me. So I'm flying out of this small town, Alabama, to Annapolis. And it worked out fine. I had somebody there meet me that was part of the Academy group. And it was tough. And it was a tough 4 years. But to answer your question about where did I get it, probably not only my dad's military background, but the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
No question.
Because you can't be a lazy Naval
That's right.
Academy attendant.
That's right.
Yeah.
Self-discipline keeps you focused, keeps you organized.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Kathryn. It keeps you organized.
Okay, my father is the one who, like, again, this is where I get it from, has a binder for everything, like this and this and this, and this is how we stay organized. And I even remember when I was little and I decided I wanted to go to New York City Ballet. You were like, okay, let's make a plan, you know?
That's right. That's part of what that paper on the wall was about. We'll get to that in a minute. Don't let me forget that. That's a great one to talk about.
Yeah.
But so I get to the Naval Academy and I'm doing my best, flailing around, studying like crazy. And then, of course, I meet the love of my life.
Yeah, Mom.
And I was at the end of my second year, I met Sheila.
Yeah.
And you know, from then on, it was like all I lived for was not to graduate from Naval Academy, but I lived for the weekends when I could see Sheila. Yeah. Because of course we lived on the campus, couldn't leave, couldn't have girls stay, so it was a great time to look forward to the weekend to being with her. Mm-hmm. And then finally graduation came. I graduated from Naval Academy, and the very next day we got married under the swords in the Naval Academy chapel. Yeah. Very romantic. Between graduating and getting out of the Naval Academy finally and getting married to my lovely wife, it was an amazing week of craziness. That experience, though, the Naval Academy, and then after that, I went into the Navy as a Navy flyer. I went through flight training in Pensacola and out in California, and then I flew with the Navy for 5 years. No question, that's where I got my self-discipline, my organizational skills, my motivation, and it stuck with me.
Yeah, because then at 27, you decided, you were like, you know, again, all of you who think it's too late to do something, you at 27 decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to be a dentist.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It wasn't quite that easy, but
right.
We decided, Sheila and I decided, of course, when we were in the Navy, we moved probably 30 times in the time we were in the Navy, maybe 25 to 30 times. So we were all over the place. We were in Spain, we were in Maine, we were in Florida, California. I mean, we were everywhere. It was a great experience. We weren't on vacation, as my wife would tell you, because I was flying all the time, but we got to see a lot of places. And then when my payback time was up with the Navy, we had to make a decision on what to do. I could have stayed in the Navy or I could get out. So we decided to get out, and now what?
Yeah.
We didn't know what to do. You know, I was a Navy guy. I didn't really have an experience, but having a Naval Academy background was huge. So I had worked for a dentist in high school, which is why I got a dental thought in my mind. And so I remember him having the biggest house and the nicest swimming pool in the whole town of Luverne when I was in that small town. And so I worked for him, of course. What did I do? I was sweeping floors and emptying garbage. But it's okay. I got to see his lifestyle. And so getting out of the Navy, I decided I would like to try to go to dental school. And you don't just go to dental school. No. You have to, of course, it's kind of like in the Naval Academy, you have to get your ducks in a row. So I had to go to a year of undergraduate school. We moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where since the dentist friend of mine was from Alabama, he had gone to that school, University of Alabama. School of Dentistry. So we moved to Alabama, Birmingham, and Sheila was a teacher. She had to finish up some work in college before she got a degree. I had to do another year of undergraduate work before I could get into dental school. And then I applied to dental school and got in.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, graduated from dental school. A very difficult 4 years because I didn't really have, quote, a job. I wasn't in the Navy anymore. They weren't paying for this. So Sheila had worked with teaching school. And then the both of us, we needed some money, and we had hours that I went to school all day. She taught all day. So we really were limited in what we could do. So I went down to a local newspaper branch in Birmingham and told them, I'm a Naval Academy graduate, but I want a newspaper route.
Yeah,
And they almost fell out of their chair when I said that, the little manager in this branch. And I said, I used to fly a $40 million airplane, Naval Academy graduate, but I do want a job because now I'm on my own. So he jumped the chance. He'd love to have me. So both Sheila and I decided, let's get a route. So we threw newspapers for 4 years. And it was mornings early, and then in the afternoon, got an afternoon paper. Sundays, we'd get up at midnight and just work until 6 a.m., throwing newspapers, putting newspapers in newspaper boxes and throughout the city. And we made it. We made it work. And so then I graduated from dental school. And, at that time, we didn't have a hometown. We had lived like 30 different places. We weren't close to our parents in any of those places. So I didn't have a hometown I wanted to go to and be a dentist instead of practice. So we decided to go back in the military because we enjoyed the military. It was just a different lifestyle. And I went back in the Air Force as a dentist. Now we're back in the military, starting to move all over the place again. And we started off in Virginia, where I did a 1-year residency. And then we went to North Carolina for a 3-year tour as a general dentist. And of course, in North Carolina is where the other love of my life came in. Ray.
That's where I came in.
That's right.
Because I know a lot of people on here have wanted me to tell the adoption story, but I know you're working that into a book that you're writing. So I didn't want to step on your toes, and we'll eventually tell that story. But Dad, you can see obviously, guys, where I get the work ethic from, because Dad, throwing newspapers. By the way, for those of you who are of the younger generation, there used to be a thing called newspapers that were thrown on your lawn.
Exactly.
It wasn't just get your news from your computer. But anyway, so that's where I get it from. You guys have asked. I mean, that's called hustling. That was not, he did not have everything handed to him. So that's where I get it from. One of the things throughout my career, you've always been encouraging and left me little notes and things like that. So talk about this first little project you're working on, because he is going to be writing a book. What's the title of your book going to be, hopefully?
Actually, I'm thinking about writing it this way, in a little bit of a series, maybe 2 or 3 books of very different nature, but pretty much centered around being a dancer's dad. Mm-hmm. So the title of the whole series will be Dancer's Dad. This first little book, can I give a little background on the book? Mm-hmm. Let me do that first. Okay. What Katie said about instilling motivation and keeping her encouraged, man, that's what I try to do. I try to do that with everybody in my life. I try to do it with my lovely wife. I try to do it with the people I work with my employees, my staff, and myself, because it's hard. It's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to be encouraging. And even now with this coronavirus mess, people are down.
Yeah.
But there have been times in the past, especially over Katie's life, where she was down. Can you believe that? There were times when she was not
they know.
upbeat and motivated as she is. So I just kind of, as a dad, and any dancer's dad out there that hears this, knows this, that your lovely daughter is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, as a lot of us do. But it seems like more for the artistic mind, the dancer mind. I don't know if it's more or less, but it seems like it's more frequent. And therefore, in my mind, you needed a lot more of that uplifting, motivational, encouraging advice. Mm-hmm. So I do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'll put some of that in my book, some little anecdotes that we have done over time, whether it was sticky notes on the wall or whether I'd take you somewhere and make you do something. But because of that, there was a time, and I won't go into too much detail because you can see it in this first little book, that Katie was struggling with something and had to have something done within the next 20 to 30 days.
Well, I think it was the Kennedy Center, wasn't it?
It was probably around
I
that
think
time
it was, yeah.
frame, yeah. And she was coming back and trying to get herself back in shape, and she was really down and worried. So even before that, I had been writing. I'd gotten into the online business idea. I loved all that stuff. And I even wrote 2 books about what I do in dentistry that are right now for sale on Amazon. But they're very limited books. They're just small little books. I had fun writing them. They're written with a fun perspective. And they're about root canals because that's what kind of specialist I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not much fun to talk about with root canals. But one of them is about root canals and how to survive. It's really kind of a fun little book. And the other one is about, and that one's called Root Canal Survival. The other one is about customer service in a dental office. Mm-hmm. And it's actually titled the Ritz-Carlton like customer service in a dental office. And both of those are very short. They're just nice books for people in the dental field. And I really had fun writing. This was years ago. They've been online on Amazon for sale for a long time. By the way, I make about $5 a month on royalties from those big books. So don't get excited like I'm a big time book writer. But I don't care. I'll take the $5. It buys me a Starbucks. So, but it was just fun doing it. And it's fun having them out there. And it's fun going on Amazon and seeing your name and these books that you've written, however silly they might be. But I like doing it. And I like to write. I've always liked to write. So while Katie was gone to New York with Sheila, I did some writing. Made a bunch of different. I got a notebook, like Katie was talking about, a binder that I've labeled ideas. It's full of ideas, and I just write ideas and put them in there. And if I get a chance to act on them, I do. So finally, now with Katie where she is, I've decided to put together a little motivational book. So the name of the book, that was a long answer to your question, Katie.
It's okay.
The name of the book is Dancer's Dad: 21 Days to Motivation. And it's nothing more than just 21 individual quotes, encouraging motivational quotes and comments from me for each day. And I did that when she was struggling at that time. And she wasn't really struggling, but she just needed some uplifting, some encouragement. And so we kind of made it fun. And I wrote out these 21 quotes and my comments, put it on some 5x7 note cards. And each day I told her, I said, look, each day I want you to find these cards, read it, and post that little card somewhere where you can see it all day that day for 21 days. And the reason I picked 21 days, of course, it's a common conception that probably 21 days is the time it takes to develop a new habit.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, or break a bad one.
A lot of people believe, yeah, exactly. That's right. Break a bad one or establish a new one. So that's how I came up with 21 days. And so it's not a big, long book. It's a very fun, just short quote each day. But I use it as a dad, as a motivational technique. And then I'd get up early before Katie, which I probably still do now, before Katie did.
Mr. 4 a.m.
I would hit them. I would hide the cards throughout the house. And she would get up. And she really had fun. She had fun looking for them. It wasn't a big deal, but it was just a little twist on trying to get her motivated. Then she'd find it, she'd read it, and it would give her a little boost. I hope. Who knows if it worked or not? It doesn't matter. It was fun to do at that time. And as a dad, my goal was always to uplift you, encourage you, and motivate you. So I've taken that, which was years ago. I've had it for years, and I've converted it now into an ebook that I'm going to sell on Amazon. Probably will be out hopefully next week.
Yeah, I will put a link below when it's ready, and it's what you're selling for like 99 cents. I mean, like it's
it's just a fun little short book. But I'll tell you, for dads, it's kind of tricky because I'd love a dancer to buy it and be motivated. When they have something coming up, 21 days, you can use it for the rest of your life and just pull it out and each day read that just to get you going each day, be motivated each day. Mm-hmm. But even for dads, if somebody bought it or mom bought it for the husband or whatever, to get printed out and do something like I did with it. Just have fun with it. Put each page around somewhere each day when your child or daughter or son dancer is down.
Yeah.
And I think it was fun.
And honestly, you don't even need to be a dancer. Like, I feel like it's good for anybody.
That's right. That's the other thing. And then I had trouble with that because you know how I try to think outside the box. I'm thinking, geez, it's a dancer's dad. It's about motivational tips, but they aren't for dancers.
No, that's for anybody.
I was writing it for a dancer.
Yeah.
But so maybe I'll market it out there somewhere one day. And I've just started it. I don't know if I told you. I just got a new website, but I haven't put it together yet, called dancersdad.com.
Perfect.
So I'll work on that.
When that's up, we will also link that below. You guys will be hearing about this a lot because then you are, of course, writing this bigger book from your perspective in terms of my career.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I've been working on that for 25 years probably with all these ideas that I've got in my idea book.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy to write because my plan is to just write the life of a great dancer from infancy till now from a dad's perspective. So that's easy to do.
Yeah. Because I think it's typically like it's like dance mom, but you don't really hear about like from the father's side, you know. So I think that's really, really interesting.
That's kind of why I did this. And there might be some tips in there that will help dads, but it's just a fun book about my lovely daughter.
I'd also like to point out before I continue, that barking you just heard was Luna in the background.
Those
of you who keep asking about the dogs, my parents have so lovingly adopted the dogs and they are doing great. And Luna's still Luna.
Speaking of which, I've got little Carson.
Oh, hi, buddy.
Right here with me. He wanted to say hi.
This is Carson. Hey, bud.
It's
still going strong. He just turned 10, didn't he?
Yeah.
9 or 10? Yeah.
Had to get Carson in.
Yay. Okay.
The boys are in the boys' room.
You're so outnumbered, and you've been outnumbered your entire life. I bet you never dreamed like when, you know, you'd have such a pink and frilly daughter.
Man, it's funny because, you know, I don't know if you've told your audience before, but one of the things I like sports. I'm not crazy about sports, but I played football in high school and I was just average, but I loved watching sports and I loved watching football at home. And so when Katie was little, whenever Saturday afternoon college football or Sunday afternoon NFL football came on, I would always go grab Katie and say, "I love football." And we'd run around the house saying, "I love football." And Katie didn't even know what football was. But it didn't matter. I'd try to get her motivated to watch football, and we'd sit on the couch, and she would dance around in her pink tutu while I watched football. So it never quite worked out to get her into the sports world.
Oh my gosh! And then to your credit too, you played dress up with me so many times. I have pictures of me putting beads, you know, the beads and the hat and the just like.
Oh yes, memories of. We lived in North Dakota. Speaking of which.
Yeah.
Where oftentimes it was 80 degrees below zero in the winter with all the wind chill. So you not dying. So we would go to the basement and we'd play. And that's one thing from a dancer's dad's perspective, I think is important, by the way, for any dad or mom, grandfather, grandmother, doesn't matter, to just play with your child. And it's so important, and I'm afraid that people have gotten away from it, especially in the high-tech world we live in. But we'd go downstairs in the basement in North Dakota, and we would just play. She would ride a little pink bike around with her little pink tutu on and wearing a crown, a tiara, I'm sure, for hours. And then I would sit on the floor and we'd play, what was that crazy little game we played with earrings and...
That's for all of you 80s and 90s children. Pretty Princess, where you like
Pretty Princess, you
spin the thing and then you move your piece and then like you get like the earrings or the necklace.
Yeah. So this is what I was doing instead of watching football. I was playing Pretty Princess in the basement in North Dakota with my little dancer.
Yeah.
So I would oftentimes be wearing plastic earrings, plastic headbands, and necklaces, whatever. But I would do it again because it was worth it. And we would do things like, even when we moved to Alabama and she was 10, 11 years old, we'd go out in the front yard, she'd dress up, it would be raining, and we would just go out and play in the puddles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, literally for hours, we'd be outside just pretending
Mm-hmm.
and playing. And so critical for dads to do, especially with their daughters, I think.
Yeah, I think nowadays too, it's just so easy to stick a device in your kid's face. But I think all that like playing and imaginary and make believe is what actually ended up helping my artistry, because I'm able to do that on stage now too. And
No
I think it's
question.
important for any kid, like get away from the devices for a little bit and play.
Yes, yes, yes.
And mom would
Playing.
play too. I have videos of you, like when we were on the Air Force Base and you were at work, mom playing kitchen with me, sitting on the floor, like, here, Katie,
Yeah.
let's make, pretend whatever. And so.
Yes, we were a good team, Mom and I,
Mm-hmm.
in the play aspect, because
Mm-hmm.
we just thought it was so important.
And it was important because I had no siblings, so I'm an only child. So you guys were my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it worked out well because as an only child, you learned very quickly how to play by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you play for hours with your stuffed animals or with your toys or whatever. And then as you got older, dancing in your bedroom for hours. And then, of course, there was a time we danced with Gumby.
Oh my God.
Gumby.
I will insert that photo here.
Yeah.
Gumby was my very first potted partner.
Yes. Just her size. It was a lot of fun.
Quote. So moving back around, one more thing I want to talk about before we go is, talking about the stuff on the wall and making a plan. And like, do you have any advice for those people out there? Because there are a lot of people who have written to me when I talk about you and mom, saying they don't have the support of their parents. They don't have the loving family. What advice would you give to those dancers who want to do this, or anybody in the profession they want to do? Where do they start? Like, I don't know where to start making a plan, and how do I get motivated? Like, what are your top tips for that?
Okay. You can do that a number of ways. You have to start with self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have somebody to help you, the only way it's going to happen is if you can discipline yourself enough to do it,
mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. And most dancers have that to an extent. Different levels have different self-discipline. But so you got to really discipline yourself to actually sit down and do that and make that plan. What I did with Katie that time, I don't know where I got the idea. I just did it. Probably because I was mad at her because she was trying to lay around and do nothing. I made her get up.
Yeah.
But, and you can do this with notebook paper. We had the big paper like you can do with a presentation that you tear off and stick on a wall, but it's Post-it note type paper. And we would tear it off, and I would actually stick maybe 5 or 6 of those on the wall in a row. And you can do this with notebook paper and tape. Just make sure it's good tape. It doesn't rip up your walls and your parents get mad. So we did it on a mirror, of course, because we always had a mirror in our house, the whole wall. And just start brainstorming with that paper and start on the left side and write down where you are now. Okay, I'm 10 years old. I go to class once a week. I perform with my company sometimes. And just make a list of where you are now. And then on the next page to the right, just write where would I like to be next year, and then the next page you could do where do I want to be when I graduate from high school? Where do I want to be in the next 4 years after high school? College? Do I want to go to a dance school? And then write down very specifically where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just write down I want to be a dancer. You need to write down I want to do ballet mainly, or tap or jazz or whatever it is. I want to dance at this school for the summer program. Write down the name of the school. And then you could even bring it so far as to even later come back and say, okay, auditions for that summer program, write that on that paper, or this date, and then back it up to where you are now and start making a plan for the next several weeks, how you can get yourself in shape to be ready for that date.
Mm-hmm.
So that date, you go into that summer program or auditioning for that summer program. But make sure it's specific. And then even later, depending on how far along you are, if you get into a program, don't, on that same wall, write down, I would love to be in a full-time dance program at blank, whatever school it is. And write down again, what age they accept, what age would you go, what age would your parents let you go, and figure out how you can make it happen. It doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, not only for the dancer, but for the dad of the dancer, for the mom of the dancer, for the brothers and sisters of the dancers. So, but write that down on those pages all the way through till, let's say, if you want to be a professional ballet dancer, then that's where you end it. At whatever company, as a professional dancer, that's where I want to be. Put a date on it. Put today's date on the left side, put a final date on the right side, and then just start working toward it. When you get upset and you get worried, come back and look at that. Take it off the wall, put it in a binder, or leave it on the wall.
Because I remember one of the things you always said to me was, you've got to write it down. You have to visually see it. And one of the things we put on that paper, we put YouTube on the paper, we put Cover Dance Magazine on that paper, we put like all the stuff that's actually started to happen or happened for me from those, the last 5-6 years. Because I think we did it right about the time I started YouTube, because I was just like being a lump on a log. Like I just didn't. And he's like, what do you want to do? And so we mapped all this out and I worked towards it, and it happened. Like a lot of it happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody, any motivational speaker anywhere will tell you that. Write it down. It does something to your brain and you can remember it better. But it's funny what you're talking about real quick. I know we're making this long, but you're going to edit it.
Oh, it's fine.
So during that time, I'm sure it was right about the time. Remember, this is when I was getting into the online business, writing books, and how I was excited about it, still am. And we put together that book, Success in Ballet, at Kathryn Morgan. You remember that?
Yeah, it was just a little like ebook thing. Like it was just small.
I don't even know. Is it still out there?
I'll link it below. Yeah. That's when I started with all my like Facebook notes, before I even had a blog, before I had a YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. This was when you were still at New York City Ballet. I think it was right when you first got into New York City Ballet. So we set it up. You remember how we did that? I was doing a lot of the work here, making it the cover and getting everything ready to go, and putting pictures. And we were working together on it, but then we established a launch date, and it was really exciting. I was flying in that day. I don't know if you remember, to New York to see you on the day of the launch. And it was supposed to launch like at, I think we said 10 a.m. on whatever day. So I landed, but I was delayed. So I'm running in, I get on a cab, I run into the apartment in New York. And I was there literally maybe 5 minutes before it was to launch. So we're all sitting around the computer watching it tick down, and then once it launched and went for sale, it was just fun to watch people buy it. So, it was just a silly little book. If you look at it now, it's probably kind of crazy, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And that got you thinking, this is something that you could do even then, before you ever were blogging or on YouTube.
Right. And I will say, like, Mom will even tell you, like, Dad, like, you understood what I was trying to do. Mom was like, what are y'all doing? Mom was like, what are you, YouTube? What?
Yeah. How can you make any living off of doing that? How can you even make any money doing that? You're wasting a lot of time. But like we figured out, if you stick with it, you can make it work.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think so many people, because we're such an instant society now, texting, calling, whatever, it doesn't just happen. You've got to work for it. You've got to have be in the right mindset, and the right mindset is key. I feel like if you're in this negativity mode, it's never going to happen, and so that helps you with that.
That's right, and that goes back to what I have talked to you about forever, and that's work ethic. I am about that. It's like, if you establish good work ethic, and a lot of dancers can do this more easily than a regular non-artistic person, because they already have that mindset. They can listen, they can focus, they can do their bar. So they have that mindset, but you have to really get focused to make it all happen. It doesn't just happen. You have to put the work into it to make it happen. And the way you do that is having that good work ethic, which means you go the extra mile. You don't sit around when you should be working. That's self-discipline as well. But if you establish a good work ethic, people will notice you. Even if you're not a fabulous dancer, you will get somewhere just having a great work ethic.
Because there have been many talented dancers who just can't, like within a year of being a professional, they don't have the work ethic. No matter how talented you are, they just can't, and they just fall away. So work ethic gets you a long way.
Yes,
So.
yes.
Well, Dad, this was fun.
It was fun.
We should have you back. Is there anything else you want to add that people need to know before we sign off?
Nope, just love talking to all of you, and don't ever give up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we will have links for all the stuff Dad's working on once it's live below. I will obviously be posting it on social. And I think we'll have Dad back. And maybe we'll do like a motivational series or something. But maybe at some point in person and not like this because of Corona. Yes. So anyway, thanks so much, Dad. I love you.
Loved it. Love talking to you, babe.
Let's say one more bye to Carson. Is Carson still there?
Wait, Carson, come here, buddy boy. Get up. Okay.
Bye-bye, bud.
Hey, bye, buddy.
Bye, buddy. Having a hair day there, bud.
All right. Okay,
All right.
love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.